Okay, the zoning board of review is now in session. Under the new Rhode Island general laws, a quorum now consists of 4 people, not 5 as it previously was. Although we are expecting one more member, but we can proceed. First item on the agenda, I will do roll call. John Borden,
John Borden, Vice Chairman, is present.
Mr. Furell.
Ben Farrell is present.
Thank you, Mr. Harris.
Langdon Harris is present.
Thank you. And the chairman, James Nod, is here as well. Some housekeeping items. Number 11 on the agenda tonight, which was the Northeast Dockside Services application, has been withdrawn by the applicant, so that's not going to be heard at all. So if anybody's here for that, that was on 1630 West Main Road. It's not going to be heard. So, and as I understand it, Mr. Chappelle, you have a continuance request, which would be the petition of James and Catherine Barry. Is that
Yes.
correct?
Yeah, that was filed by Neil Hignrami, but I'm here to handle that. And neither Mr. Barry nor Neil are available tonight. So we would
Okay.
ask that be continued to the
To
next.
April.
Yes.
Okay. Motion, could I have a motion that we continue the petition of James and Catherine Barry for 0 Anthony Road, which is tax assessors map 1 lot 19 to our regular scheduled meeting of April 20th, 2023.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Could I have a second?
Seconded.
Motion's been made and second that we continue the petition of James and Catherine Barry of 0 Anthony Road, tax assessors map 1 lot 19, which was petitioned to construct a single-family home on a pre-existing non-conforming vacant lot of record. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank
For the record, Mr. Reposer is now here. Thank you, Mr. Reposer. All righty. That leaves us with 9 petitions on the agenda tonight. So everyone knows the board meets to 10 o'clock. We try to get through everything, but there are times we don't. So if around 9 o'clock, we get a good idea of where we're at, we will let you know what the odds are. So you're not sitting here until 10 o'clock, find out it may get continued, but we will do our best. All right, so first item on the agenda is a request by William and Elizabeth Noonan of 01287 Narragansett Avenue, Prudence Island, requested a 1-year extension for a dimensional variance that was granted in March of 2022. Are they on at all? I don't see them here. Okay. So in accordance with the letter we have in the file, I'll read it for the public. This is on Prudence Island. To whom it may concern, attached, please find the decision of the zoning board of review dated March 28th, 2022. Hearing date, March 17th, 2022. As we are still in the CRMC application process, we hear and request a 1-year extension on the approval issued by the zoning board of review. Please advise when this will be scheduled, which was done. So I assume all the members have read the decision. Mr. Borden, do you have something?
Mr. Chairman, I'm not sure that I received that in my packet, but was it included? It was emailed.
Yeah.
Okay, that's on me then. I should have printed it.
It was
Okay,
a
so-
unanimous decision.
All right, so, Mr. Chairman, my feeling is, given COVID and all the other extenuating circumstances, this board typically grants an extension. I would move that we grant the extension for the petition by William and Elizabeth Noonan for another year.
Okay, is that a motion?
Yes, I would make
Could I have a
that
second?
motion.
Motion been made and second to allow a 1-year extension on the original approval issued by the zoning board of review at our meeting, March 17th, 2022. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Next item on the agenda is a petition by Linda Calcagni for property located at 34 Albert Street, who's seeking a dimensional variance to locate a shed in the front yard within 3 feet of the setback. Ms. Calcagni, you want to come up, please? Could you raise your right hand? Swear to tell the truth.
I do.
Full name and address for Teresa, please.
Linda Calcagni, 34 Albert Street, Portsmouth. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the zoning board. We find ourselves in quite a pickle when it comes to concealing our trash by the ordinance.
Okay.
And that is because we do
Before-
not,
Before you move, and I don't want to interrupt. you
Oh,
because I know
sure.
it's- But I wanted to address that.
oh, okay,
What ordinance?
that your trash be concealed.
In a trash can, but it doesn't have to be,
The trash bins are supposed to be concealed by something, I
no,
believe.
that may be a deed restriction in your neighborhood. But it's not a town ordinance.
Okay,
I mean, just drive around town, you'll see many people's trash cans out in the yard.
okay.
Yeah.
I may be mistaken. I thought that I read that somewhere that it was supposed to be concealed. that
And
they're not
again, it
supposed to
could be some
left out
sort of
in the
deed
open.
restriction,
Okay,
okay?
okay.
So, go ahead.
So we do not have a garage and we live on a steep hill. And so, hauling our trash up from the rear of the property behind our house at our age is not doable. We did have them on the side of the house at one point, and we were tripping and falling over the stones and the landscaping. So at one point, we had a stockade fence that was installed professionally on the side of our driveway, right on the line, and the wind took that down within 4 years. So we recently purchased a trash shed from Bill Sales to the tune of $3,000 to conceal the trash bins and keep things neat. And we placed it in the same place where the fence is. And I mistakenly thought that it could go right on the line and it fit there. We made it the same dimensions as the fence. And it does fit in there nicely. It's right on the line. It's got arborvitae's on the rear side of it that the neighbor planted. So it's concealed from that side. I think you all have pictures. And
Some of us have probably, I know I.
yeah,
have
and
actually
it's
driven by.
58 feet from the front of the road. It's 58 feet from the road and it's on the side of our driveway. And we also have some trees and shrubs in front of it. So Mr. Lindo knows, he's been to our property. There's really no other place to put it that it wouldn't stick out like a sore thumb. So I was open to suggestions as to where else you could put it, so that we can keep our trash concealed. But that's where we are right now, that we just would like to kind of keep it where it is.
So I guess the question is, how did you end up here?
Somebody complained.
That was my question. Is normally things like this, unless the building inspector or zoning enforcement officer is driving in the area, it, in my opinion, is generally not picked up. I drove down there and I said, there's nothing going on around here. So why all of a sudden did this come up? So it was because of a complaint, Aaron, that was filed? Okay, all right. Go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, from the pictures, yes, I can see that it's already in place. How long has it been there?
It's been there about 10 months, I think, or 12, since last July.
And where was the trash before?
It was exactly the same footprint. But it was
It
a
was in the
fence.
same place?
Exact same place, but it was a fence and not a building with a roof. But the fence got torn apart by the wind, so that's why we opted for something more sturdy. It's extremely windy where we are, because we're only one street up from the water. There's a net drive and then there's
Mhm.
Albert Street and it's a wind tunnel.
Do you happen to know the dimension of the shed?
Yes, it is approximately, it's the depth of the trash can plus about maybe a half a foot.
3 feet, 'cause I measured
And
that.
then it's the width of two trash cans plus our snow blower, because we have no garage, so,
Okay,
yeah.
so,
I think the dimensions are actually in there, but I wouldn't want to guess.
it says less than hundred and 20 square feet.
It's, yes, it's less than 64 square feet, which is why I
Probably
thought it
about-
could go on the line.
There's a slight slant, so my guess is it's about a 5 to maybe 6 foot.
Right, it's
Yeah, it's just
Shed
a
roof.
slanted roof.
right.
I mean, in this particular case, the alternative is that you could literally just leave your trash cans right there, regardless.
I mean, if whoever doesn't like looking at the trash shed, I would imagine they're gonna like even less looking at our trash cans blowing around in the wind and all the trash spilling out. Which
But-
is,
And there's no ordinance limiting the number of trash cans you could actually have or what you could have in them either.
I mean, certainly don't want to look at that. I don't want to have my trash blowing all over the neighborhood.
And also, do you have another place to put your snow blower?
We don't have a garage.
So you're using that.
There isn't a
No.
shed on the property, correct? But
It's in
all
the,
way
it's all
down.
the way in the back, so if it's snowing, how do you get it up to the front?
Mr. Chairman.
Yeah.
I would suggest that if the covenant or something like that intends to shield garbage can from view, then the shed would do a better job than a fence. If your interest is in keeping animals and things like that out of the garbage, the shed is going to do a better job than the fence.
Right.
And it's not going to blow down again. So
I can't say there is a covenant because I don't
Right.
know, or deed restriction. But I can tell you that 3 houses down there have their trash out.
Yeah.
Side.
yeah.
So,
And I can certainly see that stuff blowing away because just down the street is Macquarie, the
Yeah.
beach, and that's
Right,
windy as all get out.
okay,
Yeah, there are a lot of coyotes in the neighborhood, and so,
Yeah.
it's not a good idea to have your trash cans,
Okay.
unbarricaded.
so it's been there at least 10 months,
Right.
correct? All right, is there anything else you want to add? No? If you're gonna speak, sir, I have to ask you to come up and I have to swear you in, which is fine. Raise your right hand, swear to tell the truth. Full name and address for Teresa.
John Calcagni, 34 Albert Street.
Go ahead, Mr. Calcagni.
It just helps with the snow blower having it there, and it helps hauling up trash because it's a pretty big slope, so.
Right.
The fence, to me, it's no different than when the fence was there, but the fence got destroyed after about 8 years.
Right,
So we replaced it and wanted to have
Yeah.
covered, so,
okay, all right,
thanks.
thank you. All right.
Okay.
Yeah, I just have to ask for butters or interested parties. Do we have any butters or interested parties? Yeah. We do. Bring them up. Don't have them up on the screen, Aaron, or, yeah, okay. Yep. Hello? She's muted, I think.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Who are we speaking with?
Yes, my name is Joseph and Eliana Abundanza. We are abutters right next door where the shed is located. It's right next to us at 42 Albert Street.
Okay,
We weren't the one complaining about the shed. I think it was something that it was done on herself. And when the zoning came down, they saw that she had a shed put up illegally, and that's what triggered her to come in front of the zoning. But I am the abutter, and the shed was put there without permission right on my property line. And for me, it's an eyesore. By permitting that to be approved, I think you're opening the door to everybody putting sheds in front of the house. I think a shed should be in the rear of the property. I keep my trash bins also on the side. This is an eyesore for me because when I come out of the house or my window, I see a shed blocking my view and obstructing my view. And I think it's a poor decision to allow sheds to be on the front of the property. I think a shed belongs in the rear, which they already have one in the rear. It's all right for me if they have a second one, but I don't think the shed should be allowed in the front.
Okay, Mr. Mendoza, I have a couple of questions for you,
Yes, go ahead.
just to clarify, just if you'll just give me a minute here to
Sure.
get my papers out.
Mhm.
Okay, so the one thing was you said that the shed is blocking your view, and I was actually down there today,
Okay.
and there's a line of arborvitae's.
Well, I put that for, instead of creating my fence, because I have some dogs and they've run through everywhere. So I have the fence in the bottom and I put that row of arborvitae's for a little privacy to block that, block that shed view. But
Okay, so the arborvitae's would be blocking your view before the shed would be blocking your view.
not necessarily because the arborvitae's are only 4 foot
Okay.
tall, 5 foot tall. I mean, I don't.
So my
Yeah.
other question is this,
Go ahead.
and that is, you realize, and I'm not saying which way this is going,
Mhm.
but you do realize that the Calcagni's don't have to enclose their trash at all.
Correct.
He could put as many trash cans as they want right there
Correct.
with rotting trash.
Well-
And, I'm just saying that can happen if they have to remove the shed. And you'd be okay with that.
I don't think they'll put rotting trash. They gotta live with it also, so I don't think that'll be to their favor, but I mean, we have big bins from the garbage, the 55-gallon drums with lids on them. We
Right?
have one for recycle. I think we use the same company. They're very clean and they could be wheeled to the side of the house, next to the house somewhere, the way I keep mine in the side, not in the front of the house. They could be wheeled. They're on 2 wheels in the rear. You lift them and put them. I think that shed is too big, and obviously they're putting a barbecue grill in there, and there's a snow blower in there. So I think it was a little bit more than just for the trash bins. It's more for storage.
Actually, there's not a barbecue grill in there. The barbecue grill sits outside, and
Okay.
I can attest that in witnessing the shed, that you can only get about 2 trash cans and a snow blower in it.
Okay.
So,
But let
Just-
me ask you, what is town ordinance as far as having a shed in the front of the house? Is that allowed?
you can have a shed 120 square feet, no more than within 3 feet of the property line in the rear of the property. If you
In the
want it,
rear.
if you want it anywhere else,
Mhm.
you have to come before this board for variance, which they're here for.
Right, so that shed is within 3 feet and it is in the front of the house. So I'm opposed to it.
Okay,
I'm opposed to it.
all righty. Thank
That's
you very
my
much.
opinion. And as being the butter, I mean, that's my opinion. I think by allowing that, you're opening up a can of worms for future people wanting to put sheds in front of their houses. And I think it brings the value of the property down. And I don't think it's appropriate for the area. That's my opinion. You are the board. You guys will make your decision accordingly.
All righty. Thank you very much.
Thank you for allowing me to speak on this. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Do we have anybody else, Aaron? No.
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead, Mr. Borden.
There was not a lot coverage sheet attached with the application. I see that on the cover page, it listed as 10.323%.
There originally was a lot coverage, but it was not applicable. There wasn't, they weren't.
Well,
asking for it.
well, the reason why I would like to see it, and I would appreciate it if it were included in all petitions, is I'm curious how big the shed is in the rear of the property. And,
10 by 12,
I'm sorry,
10 by 12.
10 by 12 in the
Yeah.
rear. Okay. So, And then the other question I have is on the dimensional variance page, it lists a variance request at 3 feet. And in our 20 zone, the setback is 15 feet. So the variance requested is 15 feet because it's on the property line and not 3 feet.
It's a shed that's under 120 feet, so it's 3 feet. That's the
Yeah.
ordinance.
Under
Okay.
120 square. I do have one other question.
So, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, and then is there anything in the ordinance that allows 2 sheds to exist on the property?
There's nothing that doesn't.
And
allow-
nothing that prohibits
Right.
2
Prohibits
sheds.
it, right.
Okay,
So,
go ahead.
Cal Kagan, could you come up for a quick minute? Something else I noticed in this, do you have a full basement or a slab?
We have a walkout basement.
Okay,
Because we're on such a steep hill.
right, okay. I just wanted to ensure that because one of the drawings I have shows a slab and I'm like, I thought
Is
so.
it the patio maybe?
No, it showed under the house, so, okay. All right, thank you. Yeah, so. Let's see. Tax card had it, yeah. So tax card's got all the square footage too, and also listed the shed in the back for 120 square feet. So total gross area, 3572 square feet, plus the shed in the back, which is 120 square feet, 3572 plus 120. That includes the deck. And the lots, what?
21,300.
307.
Yeah, so I'm
Yeah.
not worried.
Yeah. Not an issue. Okay. Do we have any letters in the file?
No.
Interestingly enough, we have a complaint, but we have no one to come forward to speak against it. Love when that happens. Okay, seeing as how, there's no other comments. There are butters. Linda Calcagni is before the board, tax assessors map 49, lot 48. Requesting a 3-foot variance to the side for the purpose of keeping their trash shed, which is less than 120 square feet. Applicants given testimony, they didn't know they were required to get a variance for it. And also they believe there was some sort of ordinance that required the trash be kept in an enclosure. I think the mistake was there that your trash had to be enclosed, i.e. in a trash can with a lid, couldn't be wide open. So, anyway, that being said, Mr. Borden.
Mr. Chairman, just a point of clarification prior to the vote. Shouldn't we also be approving a variance to allow a shed in the front yard, which is prohibited by the ordinance? So we would be looking at 2-dimensional variances.
Now,
One
they meet
first.
the front, they meet the front variance. Ideally, they could put this in the middle of their. yard.
Okay, so, well, I thought they were on the property line, so that they're
That's the
required to
3
be,
foot.
that's the 3 foot. But my question is, under the ordinance, you're not allowed to have a shed in the front yard. So are we also required to grant, should we choose to do so, a variance to allow a shed in the front yard? No,
Request is
the
to
request
allow-
is for a 3-foot variance.
And to keep
Because
it in
they're,
the front.
and to keep it in the front yard,
And to
because
have-
they're, go ahead.
And to have it in the front yard.
Correct. All right, so I'm fine. I'll just move forward. Mr. Chairman, the question is whether or not the petitioner has more than a mere inconvenience and a hardship. And in my opinion, Petitioner has no garage. Petitioner had a fence there. Clearly, it makes more sense to have a very small shed, less than 120 square feet. There's already arborvitae there as a screening mechanism. It's a very small shed. Without a garage, a place for a snow blower is certainly a reasonable request, given the topography of the land. I think to deny would amount to more than a mere inconvenience. So I vote to grant the variance setback request as well as the request to allow this very small shed in the front yard. I vote to approve.
Thank you. Mr. Furell.
Mr. Chairman, I also vote to approve the 3-foot variance and the variance to allow a front yard shed for the reasons cited by Mr. Borden.
Thank you. Mr. Reposa.
I also vote to approve both variances for the reasons previously stated by Mr. Ward.
Mr. Harris.
I also vote to approve both variances for reasons previously stated by my colleagues.
Chairman also votes to approve as well. I agree with Mr. Borden. I think to deny this now does amount to more than a mere inconvenience. I don't think this was done intentionally. And the irony is it's been there approximately 10 months. Now it's just come to light. It also, I find it interesting that whoever filed the complaint never came forward to explain why they're complaining about it or what the issue is with it. So yes, and without the garage, you have to, I mean, to keep the snow blower elsewhere is ridiculous. I visited the property. It is steep down to the back. I can't imagine what you keep in the shed back there, but it can't be much because you got to truck it uphill. So I know I wouldn't want to do it. Let's put it that way. So again, I agree with Mr. Borden and my votes to approve as well. So you're all set. Have a good evening. You don't have to stay. Okay, next item on the agenda is petition by Susan and George Ring for property located at 86 Narragansett Boulevard, tax assessors map 5 lot 35, seeking a dimensional variance to exceed the maximum allowable lot coverage to install a pool and accessory shed. Are the Rings here? Raise your right hand. Swear to tell the truth?
Yes.
Okay, individually for Teresa, full name and address.
George Ring, 86 Narragansett Boulevard.
Okay, you want to explain to us what you'd like to do?
Yes, we want to install an in-ground pool. We didn't state that in the variance request.
In the ground pool?
In-ground pool, yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah, that. I don't think it came up.
Could you use the microphone?
I'm sorry.
Yeah. Is the mic on?
Yes.
Do you see a little green light there?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. All right. Oh, okay. I had driven by today and I was trying to figure out where you would put. But now I see by the drawing.
It's kind of hard to read the paper copy. That's why we
No,
gave
not
digital.
necessarily. Aaron, you want to bring it up on the screen? Can you bring that up on the screen? Okay, so it meets the setback requirements, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, it's a matter of lot coverage.
Yes.
Um. Why the shed?
Accessories for pool and then,
You have a 2-car garage.
yeah. Is that a pool equipment shed though?
Yeah.
So the equipment's gonna be in there, it won't be used for other. You're not gonna put a lawnmower in there?
Well, it's gonna be a combination of both.
Okay.
But you have a two-car garage.
Right, with two cars in it.
House have a full basement?
Yes,
Asking.
yeah. We have grandkids and they have riding toys and things of that nature. So, takes up a lot of space.
All too familiar with that.
Sure.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question on the application.
Go ahead.
Something I didn't understand is the statement, this area is not owned in fee. What does that mean?
When they did the survey, the property line for the houses, the fence is going over the line, so where the street is. We have streets on both sides. I guess the, fence is, outside the line by the street.
Outside the property line.
Yeah.
It's just over the property line as far as the surveying is gone.
The fence.
Yes, we have a small two rail fence.
Which side of the property is that?
It's front and back.
Okay, okay,
Yeah.
all right. I drove by
Yeah.
yesterday.
Yeah,
and I-
it's front
and-
and
And I
back.
saw those rail things.
Yeah.
And then to the north, there's that screening row of bushes.
Yes,
Okay. Thank you.
This is gonna be what I thought was the front of the house. So you're proposing to put this right in front of the house,
it's actually on the side of the house.
side yard.
Yes,
Okay, so that side yard, there's a large green thing in the, is that a well?
no, that is a propane tank. Underground propane tank.
Proposing to put the pool near where the propane tank is.
It'll be about 13 feet from the propane tank.
What's the law? Because there's a national fire protection code out there for objects away from underground propane tanks.
We were told 10.
Yeah, we were told 10 feet.
So we
Have
will
anything to
confirm
that
all
effect,
that.
especially in the ground pool? Aaron, do you have anything?
Once they pull a building permit, they'll make sure of that.
Yeah, but I don't even want to get that far if in fact,
Well, if it's not that, then they can't pull the permit to do this.
10 feet, it might be right, but it doesn't sound right.
We hired a surveyor to give us all this.
Yeah, and those laws change a lot all the time, so.
The survey was done within the past year.
Yeah, I'm not doubting the survey on the placement of anything. I'm just questioning. Here's the thing, if code isn't 10 feet, let's say it's 15 feet, and you have to move it 5 more feet. Now you're gonna be back here asking for a variance because you'll encroach on the side too much. So
I think there's 6 feet leeway.
what's that?
I think there's 6 feet leeway right now.
According to this, the edge of the swimming pool to the property line is 13.4 feet. I think it's a 10-foot side yard
Right, correct.
there, so 3 feet could make all the difference in the world.
Yes.
Could move the tank, that is correct. But then the bus tank will leave the house. Whatever the code is. If we don't know what the code is.
But I mean.
Yeah, in-ground tank though, I think there's a code too, because they don't want it leaking underground towards any. Potential. Like that. All right, okay. Go with that. I mean, it does run the risk. All right, any other questions? Mr. Borden, what does it drop the lot coverage to? if you Just remove the shed. You know, not much, right?
It's 80
80 square feet.
square feet for
Yeah.
the shed. So. The,
While Mr. Borden's calculating something, another
Would
question,
be-
what is it?
29.97, 30%. So it would drop it by 0.7%.
That's it.
And,
Okay.
and Mr. Chairman.
Yeah.
Mr. Borden. Maybe I'm way off. When I, the pool dimension of 15 times 32. I come out with 480, not 590.
That's including the stairs on the side and also the 1 foot around the pool.
That was my question, is there gonna be? an
Yes.
apron?
Yes, there'll be an apron
So that's
around.
included.
Yes,
Thank you
yes,
very
sir.
much.
Yes.
So that makes sense. Got it.
I thought I
Mr.
could-
Chairman,
Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
if you want, the land surveyor's on, you can speak to the propane tank
okay.
issue, if that's helpful.
As long as he knows what the current code is. And we can ask him if he's on. Who is it?
There is a call out, by the way, on the plan, minimum 10 foot from the pool.
Yeah, well,
It would be good to get his opinion.
yeah, it would be at least so we have something for the record. Is he on?
Second.
Great. Can you all hear me? Okay.
Ken, who am I speaking with?
Hi, everyone. This is Neil Hingarani, Narragansett Engineering.
Hi, Neil, how are you? Could you give your full name and address for Teresa, please, just so she has it?
Sure thing. Neil Hingarani, 3102 East Main Road, Portsmouth, Rhode Island.
And for the record, you're a licensed engineer, licensed surveyor, correct?
Professional land surveyor.
Right, okay, so can you just verify what current code is in distances to an in-ground propane tank?
Yeah, so I think the dimension you were referring to is to a combustible element. The propane tank itself, I've done this with a number of installers. They have sort of what they call cheat sheets that they give out when you're going to put in a propane tank. Those cheat sheets refer to the mechanical code.
Right.
And that setback distance is 10 feet. But that's to the pool itself. Like I said, there are additional setback distances to, combustible elements, pool equipment, things like that,
Right, right.
which this meets or exceeds. But I think
Okay.
the 10 foot is the simple answer.
Okay. Thank you. We just wanted to get that on the record.
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Garani. Any other questions for the applicants? Just has to ask for butters or interested parties, see if there's anyone.
Okay.
Okay. Come on up. Swear to tell the truth.
Yes,
Full name and address for Teresa.
sure. Megan Krupa, 98 Narragansett Boulevard.
Ms. Krupa.
So
Which-
good,
Which house is yours?
my house is right beyond the screening row of bushes, so the property that's closest to where the pool will be installed.
So, okay, so you have their house, pool, your.
Yes, so on the top
Got
plat
it. Okay, all right,
on the screen.
all righty.
So as I noted, I'm the neighbor closest to where the pool will be installed. I'm not here tonight in opposition of the Rings application, but just to request that approval of their application, assuming it will be approved, be conditioned upon completion of a survey of my property line, which is currently in process and which I'm paying for. So I've engaged a firm to have my property surveyed, particularly that boundary line.
Just to make sure that your survey and their survey jive.
Align, exactly.
You got it.
And so I understand that the Rings are here because of the percentage of their land that will be covered by structures exceeds the town's limit, but given how close the property is to their pool, I consider these related issues. In terms of timing, I've already engaged a firm to conduct the work. I paid the retainer, and I anticipate they'll be out on my property next week to start the process. And given it's only March, I think there's several months before it'll actually get nice, and
Right.
I don't anticipate it will take any time away from the project, and it'll just give some clarity and help retain the value of our properties.
Do you anticipate the change? I mean,
No, I just think that I moved into in 2019, I had different neighbors there, but they had moved in, I think, the year before. There's a fence beyond the bushes. It's never been clear to me who owns the fence, whose bushes they are. So I just think, given this project is ongoing, I'd like to know before, an in-ground pool goes in next
okay, so
door.
basically you asked that if it's approved, you don't have any problems with the pool, just
Right.
you'd like us to put a condition on it that prior to the issuance of a building permit,
Yes,
that, the surveys match,
yes.
or
Or that my property is
that they're
state.
to their advantage,
Yeah,
shall we say. So if all of a sudden you do it and find out you lost 2 more feet of your property,
yeah,
then there's no issue.
right.
Is that it?
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
if they own the bushes and the fence, that's fine. I just want more clarity before the work is started.
Okay, any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Yes.
Wanna come up? They on? Go ahead. Who is it?
1 second.
Thanks.
Hello?
It's Mr. Moore, and
Yes. Good,
could we
good.
have your full name and address for Teresa, our secretary, please?
So my full name is Alfred Moran. I'm in a butter at 89 Narragansett Boulevard across the street from the Rings.
Okay,
I'm on a Zoom video only because my home is up in central Massachusetts and I couldn't attend this evening.
no problem.
Cannot unfortunately see the description of what is being proposed. My big question is where the shed is going to be placed.
As far away from your property as it can be.
Okay, so in other words, that would probably be on Metacomet.
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, so that answers that question. Thank you. The second question I have is, will there be a perimeter fence now around the pool? I would assume that state law requires that.
State and town law right now is stricter than state law. State law is 4 feet. Town code is a 6-foot fence around it.
Okay, all right. That's basically the only 2 questions that I had. As I said, I haven't seen the diagram or whatever, and I understand their plight with grandchildren. We have the same, so all the more power to them. But I just want to make sure that everything is brought up to code, and I don't want to lose the integrity of the land. It's been a nice lot, and the building that they purchased last year, we just hope to keep the integrity there for our neighborhood.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Moran.
Thank you.
Anyone else, Aaron? Any letters or anything? Files, nothing? Okay. Before we vote, I'm going to propose the condition that the abutter has requested, and I could understand that being a common fence point. We know property lines can be all over the place. So I'm going to propose a condition that, if approved, the issuance of a building permit will be conditional on a survey being done of Ms. Kruper's property, and that it coincides with the Rings survey, and or if they differ, it's more beneficial to the Rings. Okay.
I'll second for discussion,
Sure.
Mr. Chairman.
Yeah.
if I could be recognized for discussion.
Yeah.
The only question I would have would be, and the a butter seems very reasonable and I'm sure it wouldn't drag out, but I wouldn't want the survey to drag out for a year or 2 years. Obviously, it wouldn't to handicap the petitioner. So I would like to set like a timeline of a certain number of months added to your condition for the survey. So it's not open-ended. So
I'd be good with amending it.
I would you think, March, April, May, like, your survey would be completed within 2 months? Okay, so I would propose amending your condition that the survey be completed within 2 months.
Otherwise, the applicant can move forward. if
correct.
approved. 2 months.
2 months.
Can I make a comment on that?
Sure,
Just because I've recently gone through the process and I totally agree with what you're saying.
right.
I don't know if it's a gunite pool or a liner pool, or I'm just, those, they don't, the pool installers are not the, in my experience, best schedulers, right? If there's a lot of weather pending conditions, so I think do that to get them in, if they have it shot by the summer to use it, I think 2 months could make or break the whole use of it. I totally respect what we're trying to do. I just didn't know if there's another way, if that's gonna hold you up, or if you were, what your place in line was, just because it's,
So I will
I'm not
play
trying to.
I'll play the opposite. And that would be that if the survey came back and the rings lose 3 foot 1 inch of their property, then all of a sudden they're back here. They can't move forward. Because then they have to come back for variance. Now you gotta
I mean,
reapply and your
but
whole.
I agree,
you know,
with- I agree with you, but we're looking at a plan that has, and I understand where you're coming from again, that says garage fence. So I mean, we're talking about, we have hard points.
Remember, we're
not-
talking Compton's Point where there are houses sitting on other people's property lines right now.
I agree, I understand that, but you know where that goes.
Have you been given a date at all? there?
For our pool installation, late July, early August.
Okay,
There you go.
so we
And
have-
it's, no, that's fine.
first.
That's why I came up here. And it's a liner pool. It's not gunite. They put steel sides in and then they line it.
I just didn't want to see like, you know.
No, I understand. That's why I figured I'd come up here and just
two-
let you
two
know.
good months and then it's back to.
Thank you.
Appreciate, I just wanted to bring that up.
No worries, no worries. Thank
Mr.
you.
Chairman, I would amend your petition as stated earlier.
Okay,
Is there a second?
can I have a second? Motion been made and second to add the proposed condition, that if approved, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. So, again, George and Susan Ringo before the board, tax assessors map 5, 35, seeking a 10.7% lot coverage variance for the purpose of installing an in-ground pool. Mr. Board.
Mr. Chairman, the question is whether or not, again, a petitioner has a hardship amounting to more than a mere inconvenience. A pool is a reasonable request for the, as an accessory use to the full enjoyment of the property. I've always looked at in-ground pools similar to patios as not really being structures. So they're at 24.8% without the pool. And in my opinion, the pool is not excessively adding to the lot coverage on this existing lot. So I think to deny them the right to enjoy the pool would amount to more than a mere inconvenience. So I vote to approve the dimensional variance of 10.7%.
Thank you. Mr. Furell.
Mr. Chairman, I also vote to approve the dimensional variance for lot coverage for the reasons cited by Mr. Borden.
Thank you very much. Mr. Reposa.
I also vote to approve for reasons stated by Mr. Gordon.
And Mr. Harris.
I also vote to approve the dimensional variance for reasons previously stated.
Thank you. Chairman also votes to approve for reasons previously stated by Mr. Borden. I think that, along with the proposed condition, should satisfy everyone. So you're all set.
Do one more before a break.
Yeah, we'll do one more before a break. We'll move right along. This one I don't think will take long. Next petition is petition by Thomas Joseph Wall of 12 Dighton Avenue, Portsmouth. Tax assessors map 3 lot 53. Seeking to put a addition in the front setback on a substandard lot of record. Raise your right hand. Swear to tell the truth.
Yes, I do.
Full name and address for Teresa.
Rami Sidani. I work for North County Group. We're an engineering and architectural firm in Taunton, Mass. Our address is 4 Court Street, Suite 102, Taunton, Mass. Thank you.
Whatever you want to put up.
You can pull up the site plan, please.
So you're here representing the Wolves. You're the engineer on the project, correct?
Yes, sir.
You have a letter in here. Okay.
So the property at 12 Dayton Ave is a substandard lot that was created in May 9 of 1924, according to the deed. The property lot area is 4,000 square feet. It's in the R10 district. The minimum lot area in the R10 district is 10,000 square feet. The existing lot area is less than half of the required lot area. And the frontage is 50 feet, whereas the minimum frontage is 100 feet. So it's half of the required frontage. Right now, the house sits 13.6 feet from the property line. Mr. Wall is proposing to build a 7-foot addition to the front of the house to relieve the stairs. When you open the front door of the house, there's stairs that go up to the second floor. And it's a very short, small landing. It's a trip hazard. So he's proposing to bump out only the first floor, 7 feet, to have a foyer to ease the egress, fire egress from the second floor down to the first floor. And that's the only he's not proposing to add any additional second or the third floor. It's only on the first floor.
Part of this, they're gonna remove the deck in the back.
Well, the deck in the back was removed because of, it's already gone. That's for the septic system. Yeah, they cannot add an addition on the back because the septic tank is within 10 feet of the house.
Let me do this. Because it is a substandard lot of record,
Yes.
there's certain special use permit.
Mhm.
So I'm gonna run through 5 questions regarding that.
Yep.
So if allowed, would this still allow adequate space for fire protection?
Yes, it will increase the deck.
Would it provide adequate light and air between buildings?
Yes, definitely.
Would it alter the character of the neighborhood or adversely affect any neighboring properties?
No, all the neighboring property are single-family houses and the front setback is very
Would it
close.
create lot coverage and setbacks less than the average lot coverage and setbacks of adjacent properties?
I don't believe so. No, all the lots in the area are about the same size.
Would it impose a substantial detriment to the public or to immediate neighbors?
No, the bump out is only in the front
Thanks.
yard.
Now, I'll ask you the big question is, although this is only supposed to be 6 foot 7 inches to the property line, how far is it to the road?
There's about a 5-foot right of way.
So is an additional 5 feet or 10 feet to the road?
Additional 5 feet will
It's
be,
gonna be more than that.
yeah, I don't have the surveyor. Mount Hope Engineering did the site plan, so I don't know exactly where the
Usually it's
asphalt,
10 feet.
at least 10 feet. It's
Yeah,
from what I
usually
can
it's
see.
10 feet. Because originally the roads down there were designed to be like 60 feet wide.
Yeah, back then.
And they're never gonna build on that.
No.
10 feet. So although you're requesting a a 6 foot 3 inch variance property line, there's at least another 10 feet.
At least the right of way, yes.
And Mr. Chairman?
Yes,
It also seems to me that in the current state, there's a porch and steps coming off the front of the house.
There's only a landing.
And looking at this diagram, the landing looks like it's probably 7 feet from the property line. See, the landing almost goes out 7 feet, so.
right.
So they're already out there, almost.
Oh, yeah,
They're,
yeah.
they're asking for another 5 inches.
right. More than, but because it's an addition.
Yes, yes.
Can you pull up the architectural plan, please? The architectural plan, the elevations.
Existing?
You can do the existing, now we'll do the proposed.
Right, there's that landing.
Yes, that's the landing, that's the
It's
front of the
measured
house.
The end of the landing as the front.
Front, yes, it's only.
You're already almost
Yeah,
there.
it
And
is.
then when you, in the new construction,
It's recessed and,
yeah, that's what I thought, that's what I thought.
yeah, I'm gonna pull up the second plan, please. So this is the proposed front elevation. The porch is recessed into the addition. Only sticks out are the 3 steps. As you can see, it only goes to the first floor.
Questions? No? Questions, gentlemen? Anything else you'd like to add?
No, that's all.
Any abutters or interested parties that want to speak to this? Okay, letters, Aaron, nothing? No? No one online? Nope. Okay. Thomas Walls before the board, actually his engineer is before the board. For tax assessors map 3, lot 53, requested a special use permit for substandard lot of record. Seeking a 8% lot coverage variance and a 6.3 foot front yard variance for the purpose of enlarging the front of their house on Dyke Avenue. Whose mic is that? Yeah, I think it was. There's those. Mr. Portman.
Mr. Chairman, I will take the special use permit request for a substandard lot of record first. Petitioner walked through the criterion with the chairman, and in my opinion, the petitioner meets all the criterion for a substandard lot of record under the ordinance, so I vote to approve. In regards to the dimensional variances requested for the addition, the petitioner has a 4,000 square foot lot. That is extremely small. I mean, in my opinion, that represents the hardship to only have a variance request of 8.25% for the purposes of enlarging his home for the full and beneficial use of his property. It's a reasonable request amounting to more than a mere inconvenience. So I vote to approve. And to the chairman's point, in regards to the front yard variance request of 6.3 feet, there is additional land as a part of the town right of way. So it's not really 6 feet, it's larger than that. So I vote to approve. It's a reasonable request.
Thank you. Mr. Furell.
I also vote to approve the dimensional variance on a substandard lot of record, or I'm sorry, the special use permit on a substandard lot of record. The lot coverage variance requested and the dimensional variance requested for the reasons cited by Mr. Gordon.
Thank you. Mr. Reposa.
I also vote to approve both the dimensional and the special use variance. For reasons stated by my peers.
Thank you. Mr. Harris.
I vote to approve both the dimensional variance and the special use permit for reasons previously stated.
Thank you. Chairman also votes to approve both the special use permit for substandard lot of record dimensional variance and the lot coverage variance for reasons previously stated by Mr. Moore. What's that? Thank you.
Thank you.
Board's gonna take 5 minutes. Zoning board of review. Zoning Board of Review is back in session. Next item on the agenda is petition by M-Ban CC LLC applicant for property located at 3076 East Main Road, which is zone commercial. The applicant seeking a special use permit for a new retail office consumer service business of over 5,000 square feet of floor area. Mr. Lynch, good to see you again.
See you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Jay Lynch from the law firm of Morver, Godamo and Lynch on behalf of the owner and applicant. I'm just going to give you a brief summary of the relief that we're looking for this evening and where we've been so far in the approval process through the town. The reason we're here tonight is that the applicant intends to build a new commercial building on the site. It's going to be over 5,000 square feet. So that's going to trigger the special use requirements in Article 5 and in Article 7. So we're here for a special use permit only. We don't need any dimensional relief for the proposed structure. We have been in front of the technical review committee. We've incorporated that as well. Technical review first. We met with the fire department, building department, public works. We've received some comments from the fire department and public works. Those comments have been incorporated into the final plans that have been submitted to you this evening. We have also been in front of the design review board and have gotten, I guess, a favorable recommendation. They had some comments about lighting, and we're going to address those as well as part of the presentation before you this evening. They were satisfied with the look of the building, and they had some comments about landscaping and retention basins. I think we'll address those for the landscaping, that we really can't put other materials in the drainage features, but we'll address the landscaping. This has also been in front of the planning board for an advisory opinion. We don't have a written opinion yet, but the board did approve, last week, gave a favorable recommendation for the proposed special use permit before you this evening. I have 3 witnesses. We'll try to be brief. We know you have other applications pending. First, I'll start off with Mr. Clark, who is Craig Clark, who is the principal of Ocean State Air. And what he's going to do is he's moving his business from 1844 East Main to this proposed site. I also have Melissa Hutchinson. She's the designer. She's going to go to address a lighting plan and the landscaping plan. We also have Mr. Braga here, John Braga. If you have any particular questions for Mr. Braga concerning the site plan, drainage issues, et cetera, he's here to answer those questions. And lastly, I have Mr. Hool, who promised to be brief, and he's just going to address the criteria for the special use permit for this particular application. So first witness I can call is Mr. Clark, Craig Clark.
Mr. Chairman, if I could, before we start, I have a little bit of a problem not having an advisory opinion from the planning board as well as the design review board before we even start this commercial petition.
Okay, I'll stop you there, Mr. Borden. They just met last week.
I
Okay,
understand.
we don't have the written decision. Aaron, we have an advisory opinion. Aaron was at the meeting, so we do have that. I understand your concerns, but we will continue hearing the petition anyway. In fact, I believe the applicant dug, the hole is dug. Is it not?
No, site's been cleared, but the whole is.
Site's
not
been
cleared.
cleared.
Yes,
It's been cleared for quite some time.
that's correct.
Right, to get to this point. So we will hear it. And if there's issues that you believe that we can't handle here, then we'll deal with them at the time. Okay? Good with that?
Yep.
All righty. Then Clark, raise your right hand. Swear to tell the truth.
Yes, I do.
Full name and address for Teresa.
My name is Craig Clark, 701 Park Avenue, Portsmouth, Rhode Island. My wife, Mary Beth, and I in the audience are the proud owners of Ocean State Air Solutions. We started the business 19 years ago out of our house. And slowly and surely growing the business. We are now, we've been in 1844 East Main Road for the past about 7 years, and we can barely move there. It's when you show up 8 o'clock in the morning, we're having a hard time finding a spot. So I was fortunate enough to find this location last year, searching for a commercial property location to expand our operation. And been digitally working on this property since last June. And we're here today just asking for permission to build a building. We do have a foundation person lined up. If we're not able to proceed, we're going to lose him for another 8 weeks or so. So all I can ask is just for your help in improving this process. We've been a very good neighbor, and we continue to be a good neighbor. We've volunteered in the community. We give to the community constantly. We just want that. The main emphasis on this building is to blend into the area. We do not want a large commercial property there, a big thing. We want it to look like a large house. It's going to be a green building with solar panels. It's going to be a showcase for green energy and high efficiency heating and cooling systems, and that's what we focus on. So thank you very much.
Mr. Clark, we have the site plan up. If you can just describe, the flow of traffic, how it's going to work for access to and from East Main Road.
Our business operates Monday through Friday from 8 o'clock in the morning till 4:30 in the afternoon. We do not have really any weekend operations. We have office staff and trucks that leave approximately around 8 o'clock in the morning, and they're gone most of the day. There's a curb cut existing on the property. We envision the guys showing up around 7:30, 7:45 and leaving around by, like I said, 8 o'clock in the morning. The flow of traffic will come from East Main Road into the back. Office staff will park in the front. There's a emergency access for fire vehicles, which was going to be gated and only used by them on emergency situations.
And is that the access from Wentworth?
That's the access from Wentworth, yeah.
That's just going to be limited to fire access.
Yes.
What have you done for existing landscaping and what do you propose for landscaping going forward?
Again, we take pride in the building. We want to be good neighbors, and I have worked with Mrs. Dale Tagg to the north on the left-hand side. She took it upon herself to plant some arborvitaes, and we shared in the cost of that, the arborvitae coverage. On the eastern side, the Turners, they've planted some arborvitaes already. We have some work to do there, and we're willing and able to plant some more for coverage. And then immediately on the East Main Road, there's Champion Movers is right there. That's going to be a large retaining pond. We plan on putting some seagrasses. I hope we have to detail those, but with some arborvitaes again, or whatever looks good. Because that's what we want to look good. And we want the town to be proud of this. On the north side, there's the engineering company.
Mr. Lynch, actually, Aaron, I'm gonna ask you, Mr. Lynch, when was this particular drawing done?
This was done with Mr. Fragan. This was done within the last week.
Okay. I'm curious why we don't have any of that information. We have none of it. So if you submitted it, I'm gonna defer to Aaron. And Aaron, why do we have none of that information? That last one that was up there is very key to this, and I have none of that.
So I put up whatever was given to me for the submission.
When?
These were submitted Tuesday. We dropped off hard copies. Well,
Today's Thursday.
And I'm not, that last one you just had up there, I don't have that. And that's
They
a
went,
very important drawing.
they went to the design review board and the planning board. And from that, I think things might have changed.
Well, even if that drawing changed a little bit, we don't even have first draft of it. I'm sure where the septic tank goes, that whole drawing, I can guarantee you that didn't change. That part of it probably didn't change. What I'm saying is this whole drawing is missing. I don't have it. Maybe it's me. Do you have it, John? I mean, it's very difficult to sit here and look up at that and not look at some of the details. I can't even come up with putting a condition on anything looking at that. from here. I mean, I'll,
I agree.
you know,
I agree 100%.
I agree with continuing to let you present, but I can't guarantee, Mr. Lynch, that I could honestly give a decision tonight based on what I have for information that was given to me.
All I can say, Mr. Chairman, we did drop off the.
And I don't doubt it.
And, you know, perhaps I can have Mr. Braga, because I don't think there were not significant changes, to.
No, but even at that, I mean, you know, you can understand when you're sitting here trying to look up at a screen like that, very difficult to look at all the details and the notes and, you know, the who's, what's, where, when's and why's of this whole thing. I mean,
In the building? The building? The drawings that you talked about? Would they be in your office, Aaron?
I'm,
The ones that were dropped off.
Mr. Chairman,
yes,
not to pile on, but we also often have lighting plans,
well, yeah, part, that's,
things like that.
that's part of the stuff that was apparently dropped
that-
off. I had specifically, when I picked mine up, asked Aaron to get a hold of Mr. Lynch and said, please make sure we have a lighting plan, you know, a landscaping plan.
And we did drop off a lighting plan in landscape
Right,
plan,
okay.
hard copy. We also have that plan electronically as part of the,
Yeah.
add-on.
Well, I mean, to the chairman's point, it's difficult for us to cold turkey, look at a screen and not a hard copy and analyze it prior to making a decision for commercial development.
Could we ask Aaron to go pick them up upstairs? We dropped them off in time for this meeting? And we'll go later in the afternoon or in this session here? Because we did our job. We got them
No,
here.
no, no, I'm not saying you didn't do your job.
Right.
That's not what I'm saying.
The packets, you picked, the packets were sent out the previous week, last week.
Right,
And so from that, when you asked, we subsequently got
okay.
the lighting and landscape.
So when we arrived tonight, why were they not sitting here?
I had them up here. That's why. I didn't
But
know
up
that.
there does not do this board any good.
All right, I can go get them.
You want to move ahead with the other agenda? or-
Well, we will, but the problem is we have to have Aaron here operating that while we do this.
Mr. Chairman, if I could,
Absolutely.
and I don't want to hamstring the petitioner, but I think in addition to the site plans, we also have a planning board decision and a design review board decision. That's going to get into, I don't have a decision from the design review board. I don't have an advisory opinion from the planning board. My proposal is to request a special meeting that the board meets to hear this petition either next week or the following
I'd go
week.
next week. I wouldn't go any later than that.
Yes,
It's not
yes.
Fair.
And so as not to handicap the petitioner, but I feel as though we don't have all the information, to the chairman's point, that we need to make a decision.
I have to, you know, I'll apologize right up front. I cannot make an educated decision based on what I have been given. Not through any fault apparently of yours, okay? I want that perfectly clear. Are you guys clear it next week or in the evening? Yes, sir. Next Thursday. Next Thursday. Next Thursday. What, Mr. Who? We have your report. That we do have. All right, can I have a motion that we continue this to a special meeting next Thursday, March 23rd, 7 PM?
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been made and second to continue the petition of MVNC LLC to a special meeting to be held next Thursday, March 23rd at 7 PM. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? My apologies, Mr. Clark. Totally. What's that? You can't oppose. No, I'm sorry, you don't have a vote.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, not tonight. Yes, absolutely. Aaron, if there's any issue with the planning board or design review, even writing the thing, let me know.
Yeah.
I'll speak to them directly.
Sure.
Because that's, how hard is it for them to?
I-
You know who,
I was waiting for the decisions to come in. I
yeah,
didn't get them.
would that be from? Yeah.
Yeah.
I know who it's from. That other information is key. We need to
Okay.
have that,
So
okay?
I'll talk to you after.
Whenever that, yeah, we'll talk about it after. All right. Let me see. Let me get my stuff together here. Flips around here. Yeah, it flips in the door over there. I just want to keep this together. I don't know what happened to mine. Got it. All right. All right. Moving on, next item on the agenda is a petition by Raymond Perry, applicant for property located at 0 Common Fence Boulevard, which is known as Tax Assessor's Map 4, Lot 164. Construct a new single-family dwelling unit on a pre-existing non-conforming vacant lot of record. Mr. Chappelle.
Yes, stepping in here. Good evening, Court Chappelle, 171 Chase Road, Portsmouth. You were talking with Neil earlier. He's on this petition and will be here. He's actually in El Salvador and he's zooming in from there, which is why he's not here live.
Okay.
And we are. First, I'll introduce Mr. Perry. Some of you may know him. He does work for the town. Mr. Perry is the owner of the subject property. I am going to pass out something that he gave me that shows the very house next door, the house that you'll see on your plan.
We're gonna mark this as exhibit 1.
Aaron, would you be kind enough to bring the what diagram?
Mr. Perry, you're gonna speak?
Yes.
All right, I have to swear you in. Raise your right hand. Swear to tell the truth?
I do.
Okay, full name and address for Teresa, please.
Raymond Perry, 135 Islington Avenue. Thank you.
Which one?
Well, the only reason I'm passing out that, see on the plot plan when it comes up, that Mr. Perry owns and resides and has resided for many years in the property next door. If you look at that property, the bottom right-hand corner shows the condition it was once in before his ownership and his occupancy. But what you see is a very tiny house. And he also owns the 2 lots next door. They're taxed as 1 lot. So the petition that you have before you, combining 2 lots, one of about 3,000 square feet, one about 2,200 square feet, to do 1 lot. And it's his goal that he and his wife build the house next door that has everything that this house does not have. At one point, there's no really putting an addition on this house. There's no basement. There's no garage. So the house next door, no matter what happens tonight, is really just trying to approve some of the variances. Because as you know, in its proximity to the water, Mr. Hignorami and Mr. Perry need to go to Coastal Resources. So, but they can't go to Coastal Resources until such time as they get a footprint approval. You're not approving a house, really, you're approving the footprint, although we did show you that the house proposed has no height variances, has no story variances and those things. The theme on a couple of the petitions tonight are width. So 5,000 square feet is a pretty small lot. And because of the irregular shape, the width of the lot is such that there's only about 34 feet at its widest point. And the house that's proposed is 24 feet wide. So ultimately, there are three variances that are required. There is a front yard variance, a rear yard variance, and a lot coverage variance. The lot coverage variance is 7.1%. And the front yard and rear yard variances, I'll put on the record specifically, but they are the variants that are required. So the first thing I'd like to talk about is the front yard variance. The front yard
Does
is
this not require a special use permit?
no, because it's a pre-existing, it only requires a special use permit if it's an expansion of an existing non-conforming.
Correct.
According to Aaron.
Right, okay.
As opposed to a front canvas.
Right. Got it.
So if you look at the, screen, you will see that the lot, is irregular shape. The red line on the setback, there's a 20-foot front yard setback in about 10-foot side yard setback, and 20-foot rear. The front yard is column and point four on road. Like of the other conditions, like I think Mr. Haas said, not only is column and 24 about 50 feet wide, but in that area, it's not even 10 feet. Across the street, there are no neighbors. Column and point land and water. So you can see that there's over 15 feet of grass from the property line to the house. That doesn't change our requirement, that we're supposed to be 20 feet from the property. So your ordinance also says, please look to your adjacent property. And if your adjacent properties are closer, you can take the average of the two. The Ramsey's on the phone, who located the adjacent properties. One was 20 and I think one was X, but it came out to 13.72. So we're allowed to be 13 feet away, yet we're asking to be 5.9 feet away. So that's really a variance of 7.85 from the reduced amount. But the reality, it's still 5.9 from the property line and approximately, but over 20 feet to the macadam. And there's no one across the street, which I would say would be the most affected abutter on a front yard setback would be the person across the street. There is no sideline variances on this. We have a 10-foot requirement and there's 32 feet to the property line on the sideline on one area and well excess of 10. Because it's a long, thin lot, it's only challenging width-wise. It's not challenging lengthwise. But width-wise, if you're trying to not make a house less than 24 feet wide, which I think everybody understands is a fairly narrow house, then we would have to have requirements. Even if, I don't think as a matter of right, we could have a house that's 12 feet wide there if you went the full 10 on both sides. So that is the reason for the 24-foot variance. The other is lot coverage in 7.1. I'm going to have him testify again what he has next door, that he doesn't have a garage. Remember, this includes his garage, so his garage will be part of it. It includes storage, it includes his workshop, and it's currently for him and his wife, and he wants a couple of bedrooms for his children who also go up here in Portsmouth to come back and visit. So with that, I think you've sworn in, Mr. Perry.
He has been sworn in.
Mr. Perry, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, we bought the property about 14 years ago and we intended to, when my kids were still in school and stuff like that, to expand it because it's really a one-bedroom house where we're in right now. And they actually pretty much grew up in that once I got here after the service. But we just couldn't get to it because of economic reasons and college and all that sort of stuff. So we're looking to build now. My kids are gone now. They're done with college. We paid for that. And so now I can kind of build and stuff. And, you know, we'd like them to have them to be able to come back and stuff. My daughter is getting ready to get married. She wants to have a couple of children. And my son's working internationally, but we want him to be able to come back as well, Justin. So my wife is also, she's chronically ill. So we're also, you know, looking to put an elevator in. She got sick shortly after we got married. And so sometimes she needs to sleep alone. She was in a lot of pain and stuff like that. So it's good for me to have a separate room sometimes and stuff. So, you know, we'd like to have a 3-room type of a place. The storage. The property that I am in now, there is a second shed on that. I need to get rid of that too, so that would open up that a little bit. So we want to, I meant to get rid of that years ago, but I just haven't had the storage for it. So
So based on your needs, including storage, garage, the extra bedroom, both for kids and for your disabled wife, you had, you commissioned someone to design the house for you.
yeah, me.
And the house design 24 feet, although it would not be nice to be wider and shorter, it would require more variances because all the variants deal with the width of the house in this case, not the length of the house. Is that right? That's cool. In dropping the width, it increased the length to meet your needs. Is that right? Exactly. And to meet your needs, you believe this was the least relief necessary. The length of the house is longer than some, but it doesn't require any relief on length as either to the side yard setbacks. So it doesn't necessarily change the variances, but obviously it changes lot coverage of them.
Yes.
But in this particular case, if you, and you can't do this, but if you added all that grass that's in front of that large strip, it actually wouldn't require any variances if that were yours. Is that right?
Exactly.
And so what you are generally asking for then is a front yard variance to be and locate the house 5.9 feet from the property line where the math requires 13.75. So that is a variance of 7.85 from the ordinance. But to be clear, located 5.9 feet away. Is that right?
Yes. Yep.
You're requiring no side yard variances. And the rear variance in which you are your butter, that requires 20 feet. And you're asking to be 8.6 feet away. Is that right?
That's correct. Yep.
Now, not to confuse you, but if you look at that irregular shaped lot, you'll see that corner of that where it comes in off of England Avenue and then comes in and turns the corner, that particular point would actually be closer than the sideline that you see. In order to make it the least really necessary, they have cleared with the planning board to cut that corner so that the triangle of land in that corner is given to the next lot. That expands the distance from the property line and makes it more parallel. The reason you can go to the planning board and do that is because they cut a triangle to give to one land and they get exactly the same triangle. The triangle that I would call the bottom right hand corner. Yeah, could you, oh, there you go. So this is cut off at the point, and then the equal amount is added to this. And you're allowed to add an equal amount. to each one. But because
Same footage.
I'm trying to point in and do that. I know. Okay. But because we added that, we didn't want to come in and ask for a larger variance. So by adding that, we could minimize that variance and make that variance request the least relief possible. And it doesn't require any relief other than the administrative subdivision. And it needs to be a condition of this, because if you were to grant it not on that, then our variance would not be, our rear yard variance would not be the same. To explain that again, we are 8.6 feet away. That's not 8.6 feet from that point. That's 8.6 feet from the new triangle. So it has to be conditioned on that. Other than that, it would have been a 5.6 feet away and a bigger variance. We're trying to make the variance as small as possible.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. So just to clarify, have you not been to the planning board yet? And you're asking us to make a condition that the planning board will approve that?
No, that's different. And the next petition, we couldn't go, the next petition, we had to go to the planning board for an administrative subdivision to get it done. And we did in fact go there and get an advisory opinion. This one doesn't get an advisory opinion because it doesn't go to the planning board. It's an administrative subdivision that Leon can sign The difference is when you take the exact same piece from this one and that one, you pass the test that I haven't made one lot more non-conforming. Whenever I add land to lot B and take land from lot A, I make lot B more conforming.
Right.
But I make lot A less conforming. Because you take the equal pieces, it's changing the lot line done administratively without
Changing conformance.
changing conformity, which is a signature. But we did, Neil can testify, he did meet with Leon that this qualifies as a signature only subdivision. So it didn't come with an advisory opinion. The next one you have is exactly right, and we'll have that. And if we, I don't know if it's here, because I'm a little worried the last one isn't here. But in the last petition.
Chairman. Yeah, this is kind of a sideways question, but because the lot is on two streets, doesn't it have two front yards? Yeah, it does.
Yeah,
And
it does.
The,
If you look at it, it's front and front.
right.
One front, yeah, they're not requesting any variance. The other front, they are requesting variance.
So even though that's the side of our house, we have to meet the 20-foot setback on that side, and we do. So we are putting a house that would otherwise, if you squared this lot up, would fit without really much of anything, but except for the narrowness.
That's,
So Neil is online and has any of the answers to any of the questions you may have engineering wise. He has the specific distances to the macadam that I've represented were 15 feet. He was going to qualify that, but he
any questions for him? Anybody have any questions for the engineer? I mean, I certainly don't. I think we're good, Mr. Spell. I'll just ask for butters or interested parties to this.
I will note that with the petition comes 2 letters of support from the abutters.
Okay.
The abutters that were contained and filed. They're not introduced because they were part of your petition,
Yes.
but I would,
I
without
do have
talking.
one, I think. Yeah, I
They
do.
are-
I have 2 of them. Yeah, one,
They are,
which is,
Warren is over the big house.
we have Mr. Caldwell, and Robert Nelson Vial. That we have letters from both of them supporting it.
that is the neighbor.
Right. And then,
Here.
okay, yeah, we,
Again, there is no content point association. If you plot the street, it would
Right.
be one.
okay, yeah, we do have letters from both of them.
And I checked with the residents up here too, they have a bunch of families, so the houses are cleared out and that they do the house. Yeah, I know, taking down the trees,
Okay,
so they're pretty happy about it.
so. That being said, there's no other butters interested, nobody online, Aaron? No, okay. That being said, we can go ahead and vote. So Raymond Perry's before the board for tax assessors map 4 lot 164. Proposed use of premises is to a 3-bedroom, single-family dwelling. They're requesting a 7.85-foot front yard variance to the north. Because it's corner lot, they're requiring no variance on the other front yard to the west. And requesting an 11.4-foot variance to the rear and none to the east. They're also requesting a 7.1% lot coverage variance. Mr. Borden.
Mr. Chairman, I, first of all, will recognize that petitioner is not subject to the substandard lot of record special use permit variance. This is a vacant lot. I've always said that to deny someone the use to build on their own land that they've been paying taxes on for years certainly would amount to more than a mere inconvenience. Considering this lot is 5,043 square feet, essentially half of what would be expected in an R10 zone. I think the petitioner, I should applaud the petitioner for coming forward with this petition ahead of time to build what, in my opinion, is a reasonable request. So I would vote to approve the front yard variance to the north of 7.85 feet, as well as the rear yard variance 11.4 feet. And also approve the variance lot coverage request of 7.1%, which when you consider the size of the lot, is certainly a very reasonable request for a 3-bedroom home. So I vote to approve.
Thank you very much. Mr. Furell.
Mr. Chairman, I also vote to approve front yard setback, the rear yard setback, and the lot coverage variance for the reasons cited by Mr. Borden.
Thank
I
you.
also commend the Perry for, going through all that work to juggle the lot lines and put on a representative house.
Thank you. Mr. Reposa?
I also think this is a reasonable request to move the rear yard setback, front yard setback, and the lot coverage variance. The reason previously stated.
Thank you. Mr. Harris?
Yeah, I vote to approve all of the variances proposed for reasons previously stated.
Thank you. The chairman votes to approve for reasons previously stated by Mr. Borden as well. So, thank you. You've been approved. Thank you.
Good luck.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is petition of Jesse Souza, owner for property located at 0 Side Street, being tax assessors map 20 lots 255 and 255A. Seeking to construct a new single-family dwelling on a pre-existing non-conforming vacant lot of record. The lot had an approved decision that has since expired. New petition is an expansion from what was previously approved. And no, Mr. Chappelle, we have nothing from the planning.
Mr.
Planning
Chairman,
board rep is,
what I can tell you, it got a favorable advisory opinion. We don't
Was
have,
there anything in the advisory petition recommending anything?
not that I was advised.
they put no conditions on it, but any approval tonight would be subject to any conditions set by an advisory opinion that I have not seen, but I would obviously never misrepresent you. To my knowledge, they put no requirements on it,
That is also what I was told.
but I would clearly make it subject to that to cover everybody.
Okay,
That's right.
do that. Borden?
Yes, thank you.
All right,
I'm hoping you'll find this one a little easier and more ordinary, as Mr. Borden said. But we'll start with the fact that Mr. and Mrs. Sosa bought the property a few years ago after, I believe, a gentleman by the name of Chris Fonseca came before most of you.
yeah, we have a copy of that
And he
decision.
got you want to talk about a small lot, this is 3,600 square feet and 30 feet wide. When it was 30 feet wide, you gave, they put a house on that was 18 feet wide. Difficult to build an 18-foot house if I look at my two contractors on this board, but 18-foot wide house. But it made sense because a 30-foot wide house, if it was 18, it was 8 feet to the road, plus 18, plus 4 feet to the other property, and 8 and 4 is 12, plus 18 is 30. That's where the 30 feet was. The Sosas looked at it to buy and build their home, and 18 feet was difficult at best. The house next door came for sale. They purchased the house next door. They moved into the house next door and lived there, hopefully pending your approval to build the new house. Again, you're not approving a house, this has to go to Coastal Resources. They asked me if they could do a 22-foot house, which in my opinion is a modest house. But a modest house with 30 feet, 22, is going to increase the variances that you already did. So instead, they looked to the lot next door, which was 7,200 square feet. And they said, I have an idea. I think Court said, I have an idea. Why don't we add 4 feet along the property line, taken from the 7,200 foot lot, to make it 68 and 400, so 6,800, and add 400 feet to the 3,600 foot lot and make it 4,080. By adding 4 feet in width, we now have 34 feet. I then can come back and say, do you know the 8-foot variance that you granted to the north? I want the same variance of 8 feet. You know, the 4-foot variance you granted to the south, I want the exact same variance of 4 feet. It's just by widening the lot to 34 feet, I kept the 8 and 4, but I got to go 18 to 22. For those of you that are building, we have to build 2x6 walls. If we have an 18-foot house with 2x6 walls, we lose 6 inches on each side, that's 17. If we take a hallway of 3 feet, that's 14. The 2x4 walls on each side of that lose another 8. You have 13.7, I think. And if you take off the 3 feet for the hallway, it adds 6-foot room. If you center the hallway, you have 6-foot rooms on each side of the hallway. Now, granted, you can do it like a trailer and run a hallway down one wheel and have a long series of doors, but you can't get a modular home. We figured that out. And that's why we're at 18. At 22, the rooms are still very small. They're very modest, but it at least allows a center hallway and 9-foot rooms at some point. So that's the theory behind what was done, but the variance is exactly the same. We also shortened the house because if I made the house the same length as it was when approved in 2018 and added 4 feet in width, I wasn't at a 2% lot coverage anymore. Your lot coverage there was 2%. That was the variance in the old petition. If I do the math, it was actually 2.2% and it rounded down to 2. It's now, it was 2.26% and it's now 2.28%. So it's, if we round up, it's a 1% increase. If we use it by the hundredths, it's a 0.02% increase. We shortened the house and we made the deck smaller. But by shortening the house and made the deck smaller, I tried to get it mathematically for you, so the lot coverage was the same number. Again, if you round up or down, it might be up, but it was still in 0.2 to 0.3% difference in lot coverage. So we're here saying, can I have the same lot coverage you approved in 218, the same variances you did in 218, but because I added 4 feet from my own property, and I now make my house 22 feet instead of 18. And that's the sum and substance of the petition.
So basically, you're looking for a 2-foot side yard variance, 6-foot side yard variance, a 2.8% lot coverage variance,
Yes, and that's all the
And-
variances we require.
right, and special use permit.
According to Aaron, no special use permit because this is
Vacant
a
lot.
vacant lot.
Vacant lot.
Now, before you, we put both lots on it. And the reason we put both lots on it is if you look at his existing lot, there's a garage that's currently 11 feet from the property. The garage would be 7 feet from the property. If you would like to keep the garage, but it's kind of old and it's okay. What we believe is necessary, we'll bulldoze the garage to make this work. But we added that on the petition. So if there's no garage next door other than this, the new house will have a garage under it because it's elevated and you're allowed to be in the floodplain. But the existing house does not have a garage except for this building that you see currently 11 feet away. But when you move the lot line 7 feet away. So we put that variance on, but in least relief necessary, we'll bulldoze it if that's what you want. But it would be more than a mere inconvenience to bulldoze it. But we've bent over backwards to try to make this clean.
Let it fall down on its own.
Well, but we could renovate it in the same, it's pretty dilapidated. You are correct.
I
That's
just want to
some and
confirm one thing. Mr. Gavin, it is correct that vacant lot, you do not need special use permit for a substandard lot of record?
There are added conditions of a vacant lot on a vacant lot, but there is no special use permit. It's called a dimensional variance on a vacant lot.
I talked with Aaron. I don't know that it matters. It's a new interpretation.
I just want to hear it from.
Well, I haven't had a chance to talk to Aaron about
Right.
it, but I mean, years ago, the provision in Article 6A4 was never really paid attention
Yeah, we
to.
never did.
It does not say special use permit,
Right.
but it has criteria that are special
Right,
use
yeah.
criteria. So I think, so it does, when you're enlarging, a
It comes into
structure under
play.
Article 7, it specifically says under Section A,
Right.
you need a special use permit.
Right.
Section Article 6A4, which
Right.
does not say a special use permit,
On a vacant lot.
but it says new, to build a new or enlarge an existing structure.
Right.
So there's
So
there's some
it's-
ambiguity.
So that tells me if it says to build a new structure. Take out the enlarge. If I read that, dimensional variances on substandard lots of records and appealing for a dimensional variance to build a new structure on a substandard lot, in addition to the requirements of variances, shall consider the following.
I think the only difference is Aaron calls it as a part of the criteria of the dimensional
dimensional
variance as opposed to a special use permit, which it is on a buildable lot. Still have to put it
But
on. the
that being the
record.
case, you should still go through the
Same
criteria. like you do.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Right. So we're gonna go through the criteria.
So in other words, you don't need, instead of saying special use
Right,
permit,
just-
but to get your dimensional
Variance.
variance, you have to meet the criteria
Right.
of that section.
Right.
Kind of semantics.
Got it. So I'll run through, Mr. Spell, and you could just answer. Would it allow adequate space for fire protection?
It will, in fact, it leaves the same as you've approved.
Provide adequate light and air between buildings?
It does.
Would it alter the character of the neighborhood or adversely affect neighboring property?
No, I actually think by enlarging it a little bit, you make it more in tune with all of the other.
Would it
lots.
create lot coverage and setbacks less than the average lot coverage and setbacks of adjacent properties?
No, that area is riddled with
Would it impose substantial detriment to the public or to immediate neighbors? Got that out of the way. Thank you, Mr. Spell. All right, do we have any abutters to this? Is there anyone online? Any abutters in the audience? No? Nothing? Okay. That being said, Jesse Souza is before the board for tax assessors map 20 lot 255 and 255A, seeking a 2-foot side yard variance to the north, 6-foot side yard variance to the south, and a 2.8% lot coverage variance for the purpose of constructing a new home on the lot. Mr. Borden.
Mr. Chairman, in my opinion, this makes perfect sense. I mean, to reconfigure the lot to add on, to make a reasonable home feasible on this lot makes sense. I mean, as I've always said, to deny someone that used to build on his land is a hardship amounting to more than a mere inconvenience. In regards to the special use permit for non-conforming lot of record, it's not required, and it falls under the category of dimensional relief, and the petitioner met that criterion by answering the chairman's questions. So I vote to approve a 2-foot side yard variance to the north, a 6-foot side yard variance to the south. And I commend the petitioner for only requesting a 2.8% lot coverage variance on a lot that's only 4,080 square feet. So I vote to approve.
Thank you. Mr. Furell.
Mr. Chairman, I also vote to approve the side yard variance of 6 feet, the side yard variance of 2 feet, and the lot coverage variance of 2.8% for the reasons cited by Mr. Borden.
Thank you very much. Mr. Reposa.
I also vote to approve the special use in side yard variance. Reasons stated by Mr. Purell.
Thank you. Mr. Harris.
I also vote to approve both the dimensional variance and the special use permit requested for reasons previously stated.
Chairman also votes to approve for reasons previously stated by my colleague. So you're all set. All righty. Next item on the agenda is petition of Sirens LLC for property located at 0 Common Fence Boulevard, tax assessors map 3 lot 92B. To construct a new single-family dwelling unit on a pre-existing non-conforming vacant lot of record. Mr. Spell, are your applicants with you?
I don't think so. Mr. Pearl is not here. Maybe online, but
Aaron, do we have,
it's a corporation, so technically
Yeah.
I can speak for them.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. Go ahead, Mr. Spell.
So again, I think it's tad repetitive, but we'll start with the lot at map 392B is 3,905 feet. The proposed lot coverage, again, this is a very small house, 874 feet. That would require, it comes in at 22.3 or a 2.3% variance. What's kind of unique about this one is we have been able to have no variance for the rear and no variance for either side. The front lot line, 20 foot is required, and we are 12.4 feet from the property. For those of you that know this property, you can see the road goes all the way around it. It's really like a peninsula almost.
Yeah.
So it's all front yard really, you know, when we bid, or all front, the neighbors is all front yard anyway. And again, we have a very wide common fence boulevard. We have a very large distance to the macadam, and we have nobody affected across the way. So
It's an angled front lot line too, isn't it?
that's an angled rear lot line.
Real lot line, yeah.
But by the time, so we were able at the closest point to stay 22 feet away on the rear. So the furthest point is probably 28, but we were able to meet that criteria. Normally that septic system pushes us up, but the engineer was able to push that septic system back enough to avoid the rear lot line. And we pushed that back as far as we could. You'll see that the system and the tank for the system are the 10 feet away, which keeps our house from going back further. If the house went back further, it would reduce the front line, but it can't. This house is 25.5 feet wide and 28 feet long, or 28 foot long, or vice versa. But for the variance distance, we took the shortest part of the house to minimize the variance because we met the side yard criteria. And when you multiply the 25 by 28 and divide it, you get 18.6%. So to build this house, we require no lot coverage. But in all due respect, if you know Common Fence Point Boulevard, we really kind of want one of those things called a deck, because the house faces forward and this deck is on the living area. Remember, this is an elevated house again. So the deck is not on the ground level, of course, but it's at the elevated levels. There'll be a deck. And that deck, even though we're only at 18.6% lot coverage without a deck, there's two doors on that side of the drawing. We're trying to get a deck that hits both doors for those bedrooms. And to do so, we didn't do the whole width of the house. We dropped it to 20 feet, but that's close enough because the doors are set in at 4 feet. And we can get both doors onto the deck. It's an 8-foot wide deck. Originally, if you look at Tom Principe's plan, he has like 293 feet in deck. We reduced that because in discussions, didn't think that was the least relief necessary. A 12-foot deck, like 20, you know, you might say is different. We reduced that to 8. I ask you to approve an 8-foot deck. I know you can have a 6-foot deck, but when it's your only deck and it's your entertainment deck, it gets if it's off a bedroom, a 6-foot deck is great. But when these bedrooms are off the living area as well on the second floor, you want that deck wide enough so that a regular 4 or 5-foot table with chairs is there. And it's very difficult to do that on a 6 and have a grill. It also, in all fairness, hangs out over the front. And there's nobody across the street again, much like the last petition. So it's a small lot. It's a small house. It's managed to minimize rear yard and side yard variances. The front yard variance, in my opinion, there's an argument that could be made that you didn't even need it. And I'll explain that to you again. What happens is you look at the adjacent lots. So if I'm in a straight line, adjacent's pretty easy. The one to my right and the one to my left. And if they're both at 5 feet, I can be 5 feet. In their lot, there's one that's kind of right behind them. Adjacent, it's touching them. You could argue that adjacent. If you count that house that's only 3 feet off the road and average the 3, we'd get much further. I only used the house that was immediately to the left and immediately to the right and didn't take a reduction in what the front yard setback would be. and calculate it as if it was the full 20 feet. And that's why it is 12.4 feet away from the tip of the deck, even though the house is more than 20 feet away. The foundation of the house, of course, doesn't require any front yard variance, only the deck. Because the house is 20 feet away, the deck is 8 feet wide, that's why it's 12.4 feet away with the overhang of the house. And that's why it's a 7.6 foot front yard variance and a 2.3% lot coverage variance. Really believe those are the minimums given the size of this lot, and better than the first and probably about the same as the second that you've heard tonight.
All right, let me just run through the other criteria required for a vacant lot. Would this allow for adequate space for fire protection?
It does.
Would it provide adequate light and air between buildings?
It does.
Would it alter the character of the neighborhood or adversely affect neighboring properties?
It doesn't. It's consistent with the neighboring properties.
Would it create lot coverage and setbacks less than the average lot coverage and setbacks of adjacent properties?
Lot coverage, I think, is substantially less, and the setbacks, I believe, are the same, especially
Okay.
they're less than the one immediately
im-
abutting it to the rear.
Would it impose a substantial detriment to the public or to immediate neighbors?
No, it would not.
Go
Mr.
ahead.
Chairman, a procedural question. The last petition was for a vacant lot. And the criterion you just mentioned, which is typically applied to a substandard lot of record, was classified under dimensional variance. So why is this a special use for a vacant lot?
It's just.
On the
Mark,
previous
it-
petition
we
was
didn't-
dimensional.
We didn't, I didn't.
Can I-
say it
can I
was a
answer that one?
special- I didn't say it was a special use.
Can I just say?
No. I
It
did
says
not
on
use
the, on the form, it says special.
Right.
I think we gotta alter our terminology.
That's why I did not say anything about
Right, it
special
says-
use.
okay.
No, and that's.
John,
that's
this
my
is,
question.
this is the petition that alternated it, because I've always filed it because as a special use permit, because that's how we've done it. When Aaron got it, he said, in his opinion, it's the same criteria, but technically it's not a special use permit, it's a dimensional variance. So my application went in, but he said we don't have to advertise it. So it's advertised properly.
Well, that,
Can I just say,
yes.
I think going forward, we should, the way we should
Handle it.
talk about this is if it's a vacant lot, it does not need a special use permit
Right.
under Article 7. However, for a dimensional variance, our Article 6A4 has additional dimensional variance criteria that need to be
Right.
met.
Thank you. All I wanted to clarify.
Just
That's
because
I
the
wrote
terminology
Petition
straight.
I found.
and Special use.
The form could be modified.
Well, I think what we would do, it just, on the form,
Right.
leave special use blank, and when it says dimensional variance, say Article 4, Section B, and Article
Right.
6, Section A.
A4, correct.
And that will be done, but this is the petition that
Right.
Aaron said, let's change this.
Just-
And I had filed
We
it.
got,
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question.
go ahead.
Does the package include any elevations of the?
This has to go to coastal
Okay, that's.
and it has to be approved.
But
What
they
the
can't go
package does
to-
not clearly include is any request for a height variance or any request for a story increase. Because that, it can only be 2.5 stories, as you know, with the floodplain, and it can only be the height.
Right. I just have to ask for butters, interested parties, anybody on the line, one letter. Mr. Purell.
This is from Chuck. Dickens?
Can you use your microphone?
Chuck Dickens? This is Chuck Dickens. Subject, zoning board meeting on 3/16. This is in regards to number 8 on tonight's agenda, purchase well representing Siren LLC. Properties, the properties scope lot in common sense terms are small, variances have become the norm, not the exception. The property in question tonight, 3/92 was purchased from Garlic Louise Q and Garlic Cynthia A on January 5th, 2022. As part of the same transaction, lot 3/93 Alpha, aka 282 Common Sense Point Boulevard, and 300 common sense point were also purchased. A little history. Each one of these properties was bought, and parentheses, and in the case of 300 Common Sense Point Boulevard, also added, also sold, close parentheses, are three separate LLCs, all with the same name and address. 340 Woodward RV Property Line. The feature house is listed on the petition as 714 square feet, 25.5 by 28. This is the variance for a 2.3% increase, 160 square feet. To solely for debt. While I may question the motive of one purchaser under the guise of multiple LLCs, this seems more of a benefit for them selling them than a benefit to the neighborhood. I humbly hope that the board takes into consideration that being located on Huntington Boulevard and at the front road, there will be no obstruction, there will be no obstructed water use, and therefore we will deny this variance this lot coverage. Successfully submitted, Charles and Caroline Nicholas 242 Common Sense Boulevard.
So I will comment to that and say that two things that the abutter marks in their letter. First is obstructed views. And as we know for the record, the board cannot take views into consideration. So whether it obstructs a view or not cannot be taken into consideration when voting on it. The second is anyone has the right to purchase, modify, remodel, build property. And if so be it, resell it. This is America. This is what you can do. There's nothing saying that you can't get a variance for a piece of property because you might sell it in the future. That's not how it works. So just to comment on those 2 points. So that being said, I'll get off my soapbox and moving forward, Sirens LLC is before the board for tax assessors map 3 lot 92B, seeking a 7.6% front yard variance and a 2.3% lot coverage variance, primarily for the purpose of putting a deck on their proposed house. Mr. Borden.
Mr. Chairman, this is a vacant lot. The lot is extremely small. It's 3,905 square feet. How do you build a house on a lot that small? And again, I'm going to say it for the third time tonight. Anyone that owns property that's vacant, that wants to build a house for their own enjoyment, should not be denied the right to do that. And to propose a structure that's only requiring or requesting a 2.3% variance is very remarkable. Typically, variances in Island Park and Common Fence Point with lot sizes of 4,000, 5,000, 6,000 square feet request variances of anywhere from 8 to 10 or 12%. A deck is a reasonable request for the full enjoyment of the property. I applaud the petitioner for bringing it to us now, as opposed to trying to meet the percentage under the ordinance and then coming back a year or two from now and requesting relief for a deck. So I think the petitioner has a hardship amounting to more than a mere inconvenience. I think under the dimensional standards for a vacant lot, the petitioner has met what typically we refer to as the special use criterion for a substandard lot of record. In this case, it applies to the dimensional variance, and I vote to approve.
Thank you, Mr. Furell.
Mr. Chairman, I also vote to approve the front yard setback and the lot coverage variance for the reasons cited by Mr. Borden.
Thank you, Mr. Reposa.
I also vote to approve both the front yard setback and the lot coverage variance for reasons stated by Mr. Furell.
Thank you. Mr. Harris.
I also vote to approve the lot coverage variance in the front yard setback for reasons previously stated.
Chairman also votes to approve for reasons previously stated by my colleague, so it's all set.
Thank you, everyone. Very-
Last item on the agenda is petition by Robert Kraft, applicant and owner of property located at 196 and 202 Riverside Street, tax assessors map 20 lot 150, zoned residential R10, applicant seeking dimensional variance and a special use permit under Article 7, Section A1C, construct a second floor deck with stairs in the rear on a substandard lot of record. Raise your right hand. Swear to tell the truth.
Yes.
Full name and address for Teresa, please.
Robert Kraft, 17 Sandy Lane, Brookville, Rhode Island.
Okay, Mr. Kraft. Explain to us what you'd like to do.
Would like to add a deck and an entranceway in the back of the building. The current, what it was set up as, there was a entranceway on that side up to the second floor. You could not get any furniture, nor could you get anything inside of it. So I'd like to put the entrance on the back, so you can get obviously furniture inside and obviously use of the property.
Okay, so question for you.
Yes.
Obviously, this is a multifamily unit, correct?
This is 2 units, yes.
2 units, because there's 3 meter sockets on the outside. Could you explain what the 3 meter sockets?
Sure. One is for the septic and the house, and the other was for 1 unit and the
One
other.
for each tenant. So one is landlord responsibilities. the other- Got it. Okay. It also appears that it's been recently renovated. Is that correct? Or,
I'm working on a building permit to get it renovated. I had a water leak upstairs,
okay,
and flooded the whole thing. I gutted that out,
right.
stopped. And
Has it always been a 2-family?
always been a 2-family.
Okay, all right. So it's always been a 2-family. And it's because of the leak now is causing you to renovate it.
Correct.
So why such a large deck upstairs, which I've noticed the lumber's already been purchased for the deck, correct?
That's actually for the inside. The lumber
really?
has not been purchased. for
Too
the
bad you can't put it inside right now. Keep it out of the weather.
I would love to. We're working on that.
Got it. Okay.
The size of the deck was just the recommended size based on use and capability to move stuff in and out. Yes, sorry about that.
Okay. Go ahead. Everybody's got questions. I gotta look something up here.
Mr. Kraft, where was the original stairs?
If you look at, maybe you can pull up the picture of the house. You don't mind?
Sure. Just that top view.
Maybe from the elevation certificate. If you look at the first picture of the elevation certificate, where the pickup truck is. This picture. With the pickup in front. Okay, that door was the entrance way to both apartments. So you had a left, you go upstairs, go straight into the unit. Okay. And no use of that stair, very little use. You had this chainsaw stuff to get out. Or remove a window. That was the problem.
Yeah, I can certainly see that you need a deck a little longer than just the door, so you could sort of drive in and then reverse.
Right.
And then it's gonna be tough getting sofa.
No matter what, it's still gonna be tough. That's why we figured 6 feet. At least you can angle it in. If it was any shorter or smaller, you'd end up hanging stuff off the end and it wouldn't.
There's currently a door on the second floor, exterior door.
There's not.
I didn't think
Okay, for the boards, this actual petition does require a real special use. And I'll run through the criteria there because under special use permits, Section A1C, it says enlargement of the structure on a substandard lot of record according to the provisions of Article 6, Section A. Now,
I guess in the future, if it's enlargement of an existing structure with a substandard lot.
it
would be-
requires,
Yeah.
it requires a regular
special
special
use.
use.
The H J criteria in Article 7. If it's,
Right.
if it's, not an enlargement of the existing structure, then you'd be on 6A4.
This one
which we are-
requires Article
Yeah,
7.
but we've never done that.
We have now. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm confused. Petitioners in an R10 zone,
Correct.
the lot size is listed as 10,000 square feet. So why, if that's the case, the petitioner having a substandard lot of record?
Well, it's not a substandard lot of record. I don't think. No, it's not.
Right, so
Now, 405, Article 7, Section A1C. And why is it a non-conforming, why is it a non?
That's my question.
That's a typo, that should be, I looked on the,
The uses conform.
it's not 10,000 square feet exactly.
Oh, the
It
lot
should-
is not 10,000
Right,
square feet?
it's just under.
Okay,
And
So
it
why-
said, it says 10,000 square feet. That was the application that was submitted. But
right,
I looked up, to make sure the advertisement was correct, I looked up the lot size, to double check the lot size. It's under 10,000 square feet. That's why it's just use permit.
So,
oh yeah, it's 9,748 square feet according to the site.
so,
Bingo.
Mr. Chairman, in the
Yeah.
future, and I appreciate all the effort that the planning department is providing this board. But I would appreciate that what we receive represents the lot sizes.
Right, validated. Got it,
And that's what I did to make the advertisement.
okay. That's why, all right. All right, Mr. Field, did you get your question answered regarding?
Yes, sir.
Always now, so.
Yes, sir, I did.
Improved, you're gonna have to, I think we have it on one of our drawings, you're gonna have to cut a whole new doorway in, correct?
That's correct.
When was the last time somebody actually leased that? How long ago?
That was October of last year,
Okay, and how long have you had tenants in there for?
since I've owned it, since I bought the building. It's
Which
been
was,
2014, I believe.
oh, okay, so 8, 9 years at least.
Yes.
Okay, all right. All right, I do have to run through special use criteria here, so. The desired use will not be detrimental to the surrounding area,
Will not, no.
will be compatible with neighboring land uses,
Yes,
will create a nuisance or hazard in the neighborhood.
no,
Adequate protection is afforded to surrounding properties by the use of open space, planting.
yes,
Adequate protection is afforded to the surrounding property, or yes, that one, safe vehicular access and adequate parking are provided.
yes,
Control of noise, smoke, odors, lighting, any other objectionable features provided.
say that one more time, please.
Control of noise, smoke, odors, lighting, and any other objectionable features is provided.
Yes,
Solar rights of abutters are provided.
yes,
Proposed special use will be in conformance with the purposes and intent of the comprehensive plan and the zoning ordinance of the town of Portsmouth.
yes,
The health, safety, and welfare of the community are protected.
yes,
And it's consistent with the purpose of design standards set forth in Article 9, Section D, and you're not in developments in the town center.
yes.
Okay, thank you. Anyone have any other questions for Mr. Kraft? Am I pronouncing that correctly?
Yes.
Mr. Kraft at all? No? Okay, I just have to ask for abutters and interested. Are there any abutters or interested parties that want to speak to this? Nope. Okay. All right, raise your right hand, sir. Swear to tell the truth?
Yes.
And full name and address for
My
trees.
name is Sylvester De Silva. I live on 32 Bay Street, which is the border to his house, his property.
Okay, Mr. De Silva.
I'm for it.
Okay,
That's it.
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
Really appreciate that. Aaron, do we have anybody online?
No.
Great. Okay. Seeing none, Robert Kraft is before the board. Tax assessors map 20 lot 150, seeking a 6-foot rear yard variance and a 1.18% lot coverage variance for the purpose of installing exterior stairs and associated deck to the second floor apartment of his building. He has given testimony also that he does meet all of the requirements of a special use permit under Article 7, Section A1C. So, Mr. Borden.
Mr. Chairman, first I'll take the special use permit criterion as the petitioner walked through with the chairman. He has met all the criterion under the ordinance, and I vote to approve. In regards to the lot coverage variance request of 1.18%, in my opinion, that's extremely reasonable. And the deck is also a reasonable request. And the setback relief in the rear yard to the west of 6 feet is also a reasonable request. So I vote to approve.
Thank you, Mr. Furell.
Mr. Chairman, I also vote to approve the special use permit, the rear yard setback of 6 feet, and the lot coverage variance of 1.18% for the reasons cited by Mr. Borden.
Thank you, Mr. Reposa.
I also vote to approve the lot coverage variance, the special use variance, and the 6-foot rear yard variance. For reasons stated by my peers.
Thank you. Mr. Harris.
I vote to approve all dimensional variances and special use permit provide in the petition. for
Thank you.
reasons previously.
Chairman also votes to approve the variances and the special use permit as expressed by Mr. Borden. So you're all set. All right. We have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Could I have a second?
Second.
Motion been made and second to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Gentlemen, thank you for your patience.